So, does anyone care to touch on this further?
I got to borrow I got to borrow a phrase from an old associate who is, as far as I know, still a big Alex Jones fan. I know he was a huge Alex Jones fan. Put Infowars.com on the cab of his on the sleepover on his cab of his truck. Anyway, uh, you need to be vived before you can be revived. There needs to be a Bible before there can be a revival. Anyway, my name is Jerry. I left MAGA. And I'm going to keep talking about Doug Wilson and some other individuals that I perceive as bad actors that are also Trump supporters, or at least within the Trump camp. Some of them are really bad ideas. Going to get to those. But you'll see this no quarter November thing up here. That's in reference to the Third Amendment. No no soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in manner to be prescribed by law. So this is one of those things that is very commonly referred to. In fact, I flew a all black American flag for a while. It's the no quarter flag. So um, let's just go ahead and get into what Doug's got to say here, because this particular episode is every bit as spicy as that title, and he'll admit it. But let's just get to it.
What some people call having their children be salt and light, I call conscripting covenant children into becoming child soldiers, with all the grief that such recruitment entails. How many pastors
Right off the bat, right out the gate, right out the gate, he's talking about child soldiers, skip kids, like over in Africa, and all the griefs that go with it.
have watched how many covenant children turned over to the godless, so that the godless might oversee their growth and formation, and have said nothing? Pastors are those who must give an account. Part of giving an account means counting. Hebrews 13:7, 17. So what is the casualty rate? How many survive that cliff you make them dive off? Any notion at all?
Man, this dude is he's just something else. But yeah, check this out.
During this year's NQN, once a week I've been posting something of a bonus from the archives. NQN started 8 years ago, and that was before I started recording my posts to video. So this year, once a week in November, I'm rebooting an oldie, one of the spicier ones, and recording it to video for the first time ever. And I think this one qualifies, in that it was the one that got me visited by a couple of field agents with the FBI.
Okay, so it was spicy enough that it got him a visit from the FBI, and yet he's going to put it back out there. This is, oh my goodness.
Introduction. H.L. Mencken once suggested a shrewd educational reform that has somehow not caught on. He said that there was nothing wrong with our current educational establishment that could not be fixed by burning all the schools and hanging all the teachers. Now, some might want to dismiss this.
Well, that is a pretty radical notion. Burn all the schools and hang all the teachers. What? What? Doug, please tell me you're not getting ready to support that.
This is an extreme measure, but visionaries are often dismissed in their own day. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Get them out now. I do have an idea, followed by a question. Millions of evangelicals still have their children in the government school system. Get them out now.
So he's saying homeschool them so that you can brainwash them. That reminds me of that passage in the Bible. Raise them up in the way they should go, and they will never depart. That that this guy is totally discounting the fact that sometimes a kid that grows up in these environments finds out that it's okay to embrace their own morality, that they can be an individual, that they don't have to be one of these bots, that you can be an individual and a part of a community at the same time.
Having Christian children in the government school system is what theologians of another era would have called sinity sin sin. Not a little smidge of sinity either. Not really a debatable matter. Stop it. Crash the system. If there ever were to be a true
Oh my goodness. Don't, oh my goodness.
Not really a debatable matter. Stop it. Crash the system. If there ever were to be a true Reformation among us, Christians leaving the public school system would form a refugee column that would make the Mississippi River look like a solitary tear running down Horace Mann's cheek. My question is a simple
Oh, wow. He really does think that he's got that he has those sorts of numbers. Man, the delusion runs really deep with this one.
one, but I will divide it into two questions in just a moment. Here's the first phase of the question. In order for all Christians to get their kids out of the maw of this government school system, what would it take precisely? How many outrages would have to be slathered over the tops of all our heads before we said something like, "Friend, enough"? How outrageous would such outrages have to get before somebody noticed? How much before everybody noticed? How far down this wormhole do we have to go? Sometime, away in the future, the last holdout, some Baptist deacon in Tennessee, will finally acknowledge that when the public school system refused to allow his politely worded request for his daughter to opt out of the lab for the pole dancing class, with the football team as the practice audience, they really had gone too far. The football team
Wow, this guy's hyperbole is just astronomical.
was there because they were all in mandatory sensitivity training, which meant that they had to watch the girls without any catcalling,
All right, let me run that whole scenario back for you, just so we can get the whole thing in context, so you can get a good idea of what he thinks public school is or is going to become or is becoming.
far down this wormhole do we have to go? Sometime, away in the future, the last holdout, some Baptist deacon in Tennessee, will finally acknowledge that when the public school system refused to allow his politely worded request for his daughter to opt out of the lab for the pole dancing class, with the football team as the practice audience, they really had gone too far. The football team was there because they were all in mandatory sensitivity training, which meant that they had to watch the girls without any catcalling, which they did grumble about a little bit.
Where does he come up with this insanity? Oh man. All right, so I've heard a lot of Christian nationalists talk about living in a degenerate world, a degraded world amongst degraded humans. That's Scientology talk. Anyway,
Here's how the question divides. What it would take in 2018 is a very different question from what it will take 20 years from now in 2038. The reason I know this is because what it would have taken in 1998 and before that in 1978 is quite different from what it would take now. Decadence, as Augustine once put it, is a conveyor belt that has no off switch. Things that pass today without comment would have caused riots 40 years ago, and that would
I've got a funny feeling that he's taking that out of context. That Augustinian reference. I think he just like cherry picked that little line for his own use. I mean, Doug seems to do that quite a bit.
which would cause riots today, is what you are prepping your great grandchildren to eventually put up with, provided they learn your evasions. If you boil a frog slowly enough, as the adage has it, he will let you do it. If they are evangelical frogs, you can boil the whole Nile with all of them in it. On a summer
Wow, he just took a big swipe at a major portion of the camp behind Trump. See, this is the sort of division that I see within their movement. This is why I make reference to MAGA being a meta conglomerate, utilizing a geological term of cults. A meta conglomerate, in geological terms, is a sedimentary rock that would, when you normally go to split, the grains of sand will come apart even, you know. But when that sedimentary rock becomes a metaconglomerate, it's been exposed to a lot of pressure, a lot of heat, and sometimes there's some slippage in this. You can be seen in the stone. And the thing about metaconglomerates is they're so tightly fused that when you go to split it, even the grains of sand will split. So he just he's a piece of that sedimentary rock, and he's taking a swipe at a big portion of his fellow Trump supporters. But bear in mind, he's more about Pete Hegseth than he is about Donald Trump.
evening, you can hear them croaking their praise choruses. Can anybody imagine a school in 1950
Oh, hang on. I need to back that up. I paused that way too soon.
do it? If they are evangelical frogs, you can boil the whole Nile with all of them in it. On a summer evening, you can hear them croaking their praise choruses. Can anybody imagine a school in 19
Oh, this Baptist really has a problem with Big Eva, doesn't he? The large evangelical community, Big Eva.
1958, where drag queens were in charge of the library reading hour? Can anybody imagine John Knox writing a stern letter to the school board about it and speaking in opposition for his allotted 3 minutes at the public hearing that was scheduled for it? While you are at it, try to imagine him going up to the lectern with mincing step and simpering into the microphone, the heart of our compromise.
Doug, 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 dude, pardon me. Um, you can't have everything, man. You can't. That is unreasonable to demand that you always get your way and that everybody else is wrong. That's just that's straight up narcissism. And dude, you're spreading some pretty bad ideas. Anyway, that's why I'm here looking at you. That's why I'm here talking about you. And I don't mind if you hear about it. In fact, I kind of hope you do. I'd love to sit down and have a talk with you. On cam, off cam, I don't care.
This is the diseased heart of our great compromise. This is the Bale Grove out in front of Gideon's house. The sound of revival would be the sound of multiple chainsaws firing up. If it doesn't
All right, let me back that up a second because he makes a reference to the Baal Garden and he's talking about Baal worship. He's talking about idolatry.
This is the diseased heart of our great compromise. This is the Bale Grove out in front of Gideon's house. The sound of revival would be the sound of multiple chainsaws firing up. If it doesn't smell like burning oil, and if it doesn't sound like those chainsaws, it isn't revival. Get them out now. So you son of
I got to borrow. I got to borrow a phrase from an old associate who is, as far as I know, still a big Alex Jones fan. I know he was a huge Alex Jones fan. Put Infowars.com on the cab of his on the sleepover on his cab of his truck. Anyway, you need to be vived before you can be revived. There needs to be a Bible before there can be a revival. Anyway, so you son of man. All right.
man, I have made a watchman for the house of Israel. Whenever you hear a word from my mouth, you shall give them warning from me. If I say to the wicked, O wicked one, you shall surely die, and you do not speak to warn the wicked to turn from his way, that wicked person shall die in his iniquity, but his blood I will require at your hand. But if you warn the wicked to turn from his way, and he does not turn from his way, that person shall die in his iniquity, but you will have delivered your soul. Ezekiel 33, 7 through 9, ESV.
So it sounds like he's utilizing this passage for his big time support for all actions Israel.
How many pastors have watched how many covenant children turned over to the godless so that the godless might oversee their growth and formation and have said nothing? Pastors are those who must give an account. Part of giving an account means counting. Hebrews 13:7, 17. So what is the casualty rate? How many survive that cliff you make them dive off? Any notion at all? Yeah, I know some do survive, no thanks to their elders. And those who survive can be pretty impressive or pretty lucky or both. And I know that there are Christian schools that barely merit the name, but that is nothing to the purpose. If I object
Man, dude is so dadgum judgmental.
that there are Christian schools that barely merit the name, but that is nothing to the purpose. If I objected to an argument that urged us to send 100 children through the Sunday schools run by the JWs, along with a proud display of the three of them who made it, whose Trinitarianism was actually strengthened by the experience, it would still be a really lame argument. If we are
Yeah, that would be a lame argument. The JWs are about as corrupt as they come. I mean, they're what is it, somewhere over there in Europe. I think it's Norway. Um, I believe the JWs have been stripped of their tax exempt status because the government recognizes them as a cult. Anyway, moving on. That was, dude, you got some really bad, good Lord, bad examples that you draw on.
Instructed to bring up our children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, Ephesians 6:4. If we were summoned to teach them the law of God in its fullness, and to do so in a context entirely dominated by the entirety of the Word of God, Deuteronomy 6:4 through 9, what good does it do to point at all the inconsistencies of people who have figured out creative ways of disobeying this? What is that to you? Get them out now. What some people call having their children be salt and light, I call conscripting covenant children into becoming child soldiers, with all the grief that such recruitment entails. It makes me think of Dylan's Thunder on the Mountain. Gonna raise me an army, some tough sons of bitches. I'll recruit my army from the orphanages. The orphans that
Okay, well, I'm going to give you a counterpoint with the Dead Kennedys song, Kill the Poor, right? Because we're too stupid to understand the nuances of war, right? You, oh man, you're such a vile individual. I really dislike you, Doug. And that's putting it as mildly as I possibly can. I've not liked you for a long time.
survive fight well. So, government schools are institutions controlled by the fatherless, staffed by the fatherless, with curriculum written by the fatherless, and attended by evangelical children who are functionally fatherless. I've known a number of such fathers who have big views of fatherhood, or so they think, but their vision for fatherhood is that biological function they share with donkeys and dogs. When fatherhood begins is one thing, but what it entails is quite another. Get them out now. Originally published November 1st, 2018. Not much time left for giveaways. As you
All right, I'm not worried about the giveaways, and I'm not worried about his outro and his promotionals. So we're just going to call that video good or done anyway. Done. Yeah, that one's done. Man, this dude, man, he's gonna really try my patience. I'm trying really hard not to dehumanize him, but this this human being, this individual, is one of those that challenges the human side of my brain on nearly a daily basis. Somebody out there, somebody associated with the Trump administration, is always challenging my human side. I am trying really hard to be this pacifist that I have chosen to be. That said, there's nothing wrong with self defense, in my humble opinion. I know there's some out there that will even disagree with me on that. But anyway, that's a deeper conversation for another time. But yeah, I really can't believe. Well, no, actually, I can believe because it's Doug Wilson. But I don't understand his logic in I posted this blog post and I got a visit from the FBI, so I'm going to read it out. Of course, then again, we got this Cash Patel character up there, so he's relatively sure he's not going to get in any serious trouble. These people have been enabled by the Trump administration. Anyway, if you've made it to the end, I appreciate it. This is one of the shorter videos. I got some more good stuff lined up for you. Got another Doug Wilson lined up. I'm going to be talking about Allie Beth Stuckey and her take on some uh, psychotherapy. That's not really the right word to use because of the connotation that it has now. Therapy in general, recovery from trauma. Um, and that said, I know John MacArthur is dead, but he's put out some bad teachings like PTSD doesn't exist. And I'm going to challenge those teachings as well because mental health matters. I say it at the end of every video. And if you made it to the end, you'll know that. That said, if you found this video enjoyable, informative, give it a thumbs up, drop a comment down below. I'd appreciate that. I try to get back to all of them. There are some that I choose not to respond to. usually negative. You know, once MAGA, always MAGA. That's um, that's discounting the ability to change as human beings. That's discounting that somebody might want to choose to live their life in a more beneficial way. So yeah, I that's my general take. It doesn't I don't need to put that out there every time somebody drops that under one of my videos. Or anywhere else as far as that goes. I've decided to make better choices for myself and I'm a lot happier for it. I'm part of the resistance. I'm an unspecified voter that voted for Harris in 24. So all I said, if you haven't yet, please give me a subscribe, give a thumbs up, share this with anybody that you think might benefit from this information. And I'll be bringing you more videos in the near future. So please take care of yourself so you can take care of each other. Get the rest you need. Make sure you get plenty of fluids. And please remember, like I'm always saying, mental health matters.
Everybody wants to